You wanna know something crazy? One of my favorite things is when I'm getting ready to record a video and then I'm reminded as to something that helps me enhance the point I'm going to make in said video, because I tend to enjoy when I do something and it causes a bunch of hit dogs to holler. When I made that video about the girl on the track field who hit the other girl upside the head, she was crying about, oh my God, my mental, even though I just knocked her upside her head and gave her a concussion. Oh my God, my mental. You can imagine a lot of people had thoughts. Some people loved the video. Some people didn't like the video. And out of all the comments, one stuck out to daddy. Why is a majority of your videos about negativity and black people? Dirty weirdos like you is what gives us a bad name. And while this man is correct that I do need to go to a barber, and I will do that in due time, what I don't like about his comment is he's insinuating that all of my videos are just negativity and black people. And I'm sorry to point this out to you, little man, but your poor misguided feelings about the black community really don't mean a crock of shit to me, because you're walking in and walking out with the mindset of, oh, there is no wrong of the black community. There is nothing to see here in the black community. Yet you one of them dumb, silly motherfuckers that probably gets on social media and looks at other people who aren't black and says, hey, since you're not this skin color, you can't talk about this said thing. But you know what's funny is that when you have people with the skin color talking about the thing, it's, why is everything so negative? Why is everything always talking about black people? Cry about it. And if you really wanted to actually be about some layer of a difference, you would call out the stupid things you see in your community and in other communities. Why? Because you have two working eyes, maybe four on a good day, and you have a brain that lets you know, this thing is bad, this thing is bad, this thing is good, that thing is good, this thing's abhorrent, and this thing is just downright demonic. It really shouldn't even be that difficult, but because we got people who live in a fucking hug box, it tends to be that difficult for them. Why? Because when you hit a dog, it tends to holler. What have I been saying since at least 2019? I know I didn't originate this, but I've been saying it since 2019. Hate crimes that are fake do a disservice to real ones, because despite the vast majority of people that would want you to believe it, racism exists, racist people exist, and no matter how much we try to hold hands and participate in a circle jerk with our future robotic dildos and pocket pussies, that ain't really gonna go away no matter how much we try and pray about it. And those hateful people will exist, and there will be hateful people who act upon their hateful ways towards other people, and it's sick and it's depraved and it deserves to be mocked and made fun of, and the people who do those things deserve a consequence. But the reason that isn't as juicy as the fake ones is because real things tend to be something that often upsets a bunch of people, and the fake things are something that we could just pump out and everybody can have opinions about and everybody could speak on and everyone could have all this traction about it. And then when it comes out that it's fake, all of a sudden we're supposed to pay attention to the real things. No, we can pay attention to the real things. It's just for some reason the fake stories tend to get pushed in front of everyone's faces as if there aren't a bunch of other people who are actually suffering and not getting cared about and talked about because a bunch of other motherfuckers wanted to bring to the forefront a fake story that smelled like shit from Jump Street. In January, someone was trying to get into a very lucrative position in their town, in their district, whatever. And yes, this person just so happened to be a black woman, the most disrespected group in American history. And one day she went into the office and found a noose. And you can imagine, as a black person and finding a noose, that is going to create a lot of panic inside a bunch of people's minds, because do you not want to see a black person in power? And instead of actually saying, I want to vote for someone else, you do something like this. You send a potential threat towards somebody. Of course, people are going to be in panic.
When black lives are under attack, what do we do?
A call for action and fight for change.
We will not be silenced.
Community members and leaders made their voices heard in front of Allentown City Hall Monday afternoon.
Just to think that people have to go to work in fear for their lives.
Since Friday, Allentown police continue to investigate an item resembling a noose found on a city employee's desk.
This egregious act is not just an affront to one individual, but it is an attack on the entire community.
Several spoke during a rally, calling for transparency, prevention, and an immediate federal investigation among a list of demands. This incident, community members note, is not the first racial discrimination issue City Hall has dealt with. Josie Lopez is a close friend of the victim.
They're always a community leader, always pushing for equality. They might be bruised right now, but they are not broken.
The victim is not being named due to safety concerns.
Our colleague was threatened.
And they were, as they should have been. And you could imagine, as that was going on, people wanted answers. You don't just have something like this happen and it's thrown by the wayside. You want people to investigate it. You want people to see it resolved. You want people to actually get to the bottom of this and a perpetrator found and thrown away to face a consequence, right? Well, as of time of recording, we potentially have our perpetrator. And it's not who you would think it would be if you were somebody who was running around protesting saying this is bad and we need to do something about it.
The purpose of this press conference is to provide an update regarding the Noose investigation. I want to take a moment to thank the following agencies who assisted in this case: the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office, the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Allentown Police Department conducted a thorough investigation, including interviews of persons, analysis of evidence, and consultation with the District Attorney's Office of Lehigh County. As a result of the subsequent investigation, LaTarsha Brown was charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, and false reports to law enforcement, a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree. As in every criminal case, the fact that a warrant has been issued or a complaint has been filed is merely an accusation. The defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty in a court of law. I'm now going to ask Captain Milkovich to provide a summation of this investigation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Captain Milkovich, Criminal Investigations Division. On January 10, 2025, at approximately 7:11 a.m., Allentown City employee LaTarsha Brown arrived at her office on the 3rd floor of City Hall. At approximately 7:38 a.m., Ms. Brown notified the Allentown Police Department that she discovered what she believed to be a noose on her desk upon arriving at work. Officers assigned to the Community Outreach Unit, Crime Scene Identification Unit, and Criminal Investigations Unit responded, initiating a criminal investigation to identify the individual responsible for placing the noose on Ms. Brown's desk. During the investigation, video surveillance and building access control records were reviewed to identify city employees present on the 3rd floor of City Hall between the time Ms. Brown left for work on the afternoon of January 9, 2025, and her arrival on the morning of January 10th. Those employees were interviewed. Each was asked if they would provide a buccal swab for DNA testing if needed. Every employee agreed, except for Ms. Brown. Initially cooperative, Ms. Brown later requested that the investigation be discontinued. The noose was submitted to the Pennsylvania State Police Crime Lab for DNA testing on January 14, 2025. On January 24, 2025, a search warrant was approved by the Lehigh County District Attorney's Office for Ms. Brown's DNA, and a DNA sample was obtained that same day. On January 27, 2025, Ms. Brown's buccal swab was submitted to the Bethlehem Regional Crime Lab of the Pennsylvania State Police for comparison with DNA profiles recovered from the noose. On March 10, 2025, the Forensic DNA Division of the Pennsylvania State Police issued a written report indicating that Ms. Brown's DNA matched the DNA profile obtained from the swabs of both the outer surface and inner knotted portion of the noose after it was taken apart. No other person's DNA profiles found on the evidentiary items involved in this investigation. As a result of this investigation earlier today, Detective Harold Bonds of the Allentown Police Department filed charges against LaTarsha Brown at District Court 31-2-01 for the criminal offenses outlined earlier by Chief Roca.
The thing that irks me about all of this is the confidence to sit around and talk like it's everyone else's problem that you got caught in this obvious scenario, because it reads like they were dedicated to finding out who this was, because in their community, I'm sure racism and hatred is no place for this and we do not tolerate it. So they're going to take it very seriously. And they took 2 months to seriously look into this. And you know what they found? Really nothing except your hands all over the item in question. Now, one could come up with various different ways as to how you're the only one with hands on it. I'm going to assume for the moment that you're the one who bought it, you tied it up, and because you had no real way to sway a bunch of voters, this was your only option. Panic, hoping that it would put you in a lucrative position, and you being somewhat cooperative in the beginning, but not being cooperative as it goes on, makes it lead more that you're someone dedicated to faking something because you're that desperate for somebody's attention. And the cherry on this really nasty ass sundae is the response from one of the co-workers, friends, correspondents, whatever you want to call this person. And I quote, "I am speaking today as a friend," so it's a friend, "of LaTarsha Brown, someone who knows her heart, her character, and her unwavering commitment to this community. In January, LaTarsha walked into her office and found a noose on her desk. That is a fact. From the very first moment, she was honest and transparent. She said she had touched the noose. That is also a fact. And yet, instead of focusing on who put it there, they are trying to turn this against her, as if she is responsible for the very act of hate committed against her. That is not just false, it is an outrageous and deliberate attempt to discredit her." Or maybe that's them spending 2 months trying to figure this all out, because I would think if you're spending all that time investigating, you're going to find out who was buying rope at a specific point in time, whether it was that day, days before, a week before. You're going to comb through camera footage. You're going to comb through a bunch of office hours of camera footage, because I'm certain the building you work in has cameras that let you know who was walking to and from. That way you could easily figure out who was going where and what time. That way you could find out who was doing this. From the moment this happened, LaTarsha was never offered security or protection. No one asked how she could be supported. No one treated her as the victim she is. Then why the fuck did they investigate this? If they really didn't give a fuck about the bitch, they would just tell her, "Hey, fuck off and go about your day." City Hall did not follow any visible protocol to ensure her safety or well-being. Instead, they let a hate crime turn into an attack on her character. So I have to ask, what is the protocol for a situation like this? I would think investigating it to see who did it, and then arrest them, and then question them, and then give them the consequence of either a fine or jail time. But you know, maybe that's just me thinking outside the box. If LaTarsha were not a black woman fighting against discrimination, what protections would she have received? Would she have been offered security? Would there have been immediate efforts to find the perpetrator instead of making her the suspect? LaTarsha Brown is a mother. She is a God-fearing woman, and she is blah to the fucking blah. These are the things that people throw out when their friends or their confidants or their coworkers are caught, and they have nothing to say to what people were actually doing in the background to solve this. Because you cannot tell me as for a fact that no one gave a fuck about this lady when they were actively trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And they're coming to the conclusion that this bitch might have did this shit herself. Why? Who fucking knows why? Maybe she thought that this would be a lucrative way to get her in the position that she wanted. Maybe she could get some sympathy points. Maybe she just wanted some fucking attention from somebody. Who knows? All possibilities are there, and it's not looking like somebody planted the seeds for her. It don't look like some tech whiz shut down every camera in the fucking area and went in specifically to this bitch's room and said, "You know what, black, here you go." It's looking more like this lady planted this herself, and that's the unfortunate part. We got a motherfucker who's desperate for attention doing anything hoping that it sticks, and a bunch of dumb motherfuckers sitting there defending her. And the thing that irks me is that for some reason me pointing this out is embarrassing other black people, as if other black people are doing this shit, and you got motherfuckers caping for the wolves saying, "Oh, you're one of these people who talks negatively about black people." Well, you simple-minded simpleton fuck. If it wasn't so easy to do it, I wouldn't even fucking bother. If it wasn't so simple to see a bunch of dumb motherfuckers doing dumb shit that deserves to be called out, I wouldn't really do it. If it really wasn't that easy, it wouldn't even be necessary. But because we have attention seekers, we have murderers, we have kid touchers, and we have all other degrees of depraved shit that deserves to be made fun of, mocked, scrutinized, and criticized, I'm gonna do it. And your fucking hug box where you sit comfortably thinking nobody who looks like you you does this thing really doesn't fucking suffice for me. It really pisses me off that people live in that type of bubble, expecting me to live in that type of bubble. And I could have done that as a kid, but because I grow up in the real world facing real consequences for the dumb shit I've done and the dumb shit I see other people doing, I'm gonna lean towards, it's better for me to just fucking exist here. That way I don't have to pretend like nothing goes on. And then when I unfortunately have to see it because of the YouTube algorithm, I have to pretend like I'm the hero of black people sitting there saying, oh my God, you're what makes black people a bad name. Sorry. I've never killed anybody because I lost in a fucking basketball game to a woman. So you can't really put that on me, but maybe I can put that on you. And to wrap this up oh so nicely for everybody, I said it, I don't know how many minutes ago, I'ma say it again. Hit dogs gonna fucking holler when you point out some shit that make them holler. And faking hate crimes, faking kidnappings, faking bad things that happen to you because you bored don't help actual people. It don't spark no real conversation. It sparks a fake one that lasts up until we find out the bullshit is fake, and then nobody cares about this anymore. Then it's harder for people who actually go through these things to speak out, because then they're gonna get talked about as, oh well, you remember that last person that faked the hate crime, you remember that last person that faked the kidnapping, you remember that last person that faked this, you remember that last person that faked that. You motherfuckers make this shit batshit insane for people who actually suffer through these things, because there are people out there that do suffer from these things, and the reason why they don't get any fucking attention is because for some reason we prop up fake stories as they're real instead of the real stories, because they're not as juicy for our algorithms and our safe spaces and our TikTok live streams where we talk about 50-50 relationships and if a black person actually deserves to be alive, because yes, that's what you weird motherfuckers do, and it makes me fucking sick to my stomach. I hope at the end of all of this we can find out who did it, whether if it was a ghost, a lamb, a baby, or this random bitch who was just seeking some attention from somewhere, and we could all move on to the next subject and go about our merry way, where we all join hands and get our robotic dildos and we raise them up high and say, damn, I'm getting tired of motherfuckers faking hate crimes for attention, because it's getting fucking absurd and it's getting fucking old. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in the next one. Mwah. Goodbye.